Welcome to the Big Biz Show. Taking care of business. You want fast-talking, hard-hitting discussions on business and finance? Maybe with a barroom slant and some really salty peanuts? We're not counting calories. We're counting cash. Before we get to the man with the financial plan, meet the money team. Costa, Mary, and Greg. Now, Captain Finance himself, Sully.
Well, live from the Waffle 100 Studios in sunny San Diego, California, Biz Show is on the air. And, of course, we have 3 of the 4 because apparently Mike a little too many onions and bacon bits.
Oh, it happens.
On the way to the store to buy himself some Imodium and a cork.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Great to see you guys today. So here's my question. Are you feeling the pressure already? You have to be, because you're 2 weeks away from Halloween.
What?
Is it feeling like holiday, like start panicky, like, oh my God, like we are right there?
I bought my first Christmas present yesterday.
Did you really?
For my niece, yeah. She wants a little stuffed animal, and it was on sale at Target. And
See,
I was like,
you're the
bam.
problem. You realize,
That's not the first
you
time
realize
I've
that,
heard
right? The people who buy early are the reasons they put it out so early.
Hey,
so if we want to get the most out of
Black
Halloween.
Friday used to be the shopping day after Thanksgiving. And now it happens sometimes after, like February 15th, right? Day after Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Say hello to the Day Trader Trio today. Good to see you. Have you done any Christmas shopping, Trace Sojourn Hodgins?
Starting to, yeah.
Are you really? Yeah. James?
We got to think about it.
What?
None.
James.
Excellent, James.
Jeremy goes, none. Brian, are you a planner or header? No, me either. I find that, I remember when Amazon first came out and my kids were still young. That was a 15-minute process.
Oh, yeah.
It's the best.
Totally.
It was so great.
Well, in my Target app, the deal came up. I put with my groceries. I do the drive-up
get
Target.
deals. You don't even go in?
No. Push the button.
So you do those little little parking spots.
Yes. I'm the one that does that. It's the best.
Look who's here, Howie Font, our
Hey,
entrepreneur, is coming from New York. What's up, bud? Good to see you. Are you thinking about the holiday season yet?
I like to receive more than give, so I let people like Mary get. By the way, I have no problem. I think it's great that you get stuff out of the way.
You've given me some of the greatest. He gave me a great watch band with the band name on it that clipped on. It was embossed. It was fantastic.
Nice.
The reason I'm bringing this up is because people put together Christmas funds throughout the year. They put away, $10 a week or $20 a week or whatever. If you're a parent, you're putting away $1,000 a day for this stuff. But there's also emergency funds that I think we forget about. And Howie has got a little bit of information back because it's talked about in personal finance, but not discussed in practical terms for people who really need to use the advice. Howie, break it down for us. Outside of our Christmas fund and our vacation fund, what about the emergency fund?
Yeah, so I think we really, especially if you talk about finance a lot, you have maybe a missed opportunity because we always say, okay, what is the optimal? It's 3 to 6 months of expenses. Fine. I don't think anyone disputes that. But if you're saving and you're really budgeting, well, that might be really hard to achieve. So what are some guidelines you can use and what's something that's important? I think by thinking about this inversely and saying, what expenses do I really, really need? What can I cut? Can I create, some savings every month and I'll just slowly build up a pile? I think that's a better way to think.
How bad off are we? I heard a commercial yesterday. Danica Patrick, the ex-race car driver, was saying that if your car warranty is out and she was selling an extended warranty, that most Americans could not afford a $4,000 car emergency. How bad? But it's much worse than that, isn't it, Howie?
Well, almost half of Americans can't even afford a $400 emergency expense that they weren't expecting. That's pretty desperate. It means you need to be able to. That kind of clarifies why it's so important to build up this emergency fund.
Well, and it begs to ask the question: how in the hell do you build up an emergency fund for 3 to 6 months if you can't afford a $400 thing? We're going to get back to that in a second. That's where they leave you in the driveway thinking. Big Biz Show. Howie, stand by there. Now I got you thinking. Mary's not so sure she's going to come to work today. She's like, Greg's like, emergency fund?
I don't know what that
fund.
means. You know what that means. I don't.
Stand by. See you in a minute.
Howie, I keep hearing about all these different landings. Hard landings, soft landings. What are we doing? We're talking Tinder dates? We're talking airplanes? What's going on here?
Yeah. No, we're not talking about planes, Devin. It's all about how the economy is going to act with all this inflation and whether or not we're going to have a recession.
Oh, I don't like that word.
I don't like that. Put your tongue back in your mouth.
Soft landing is when economies slow down just enough to bring down inflation, but not so much that we're out of jobs and the market drops.
So, let me get this straight. It's like when you're at a party and you're about to fall down because you had a couple too many G&Ts. That's a gin and tonic for everyone back at home. And then you go to catch yourself using your boss's wife as a safety net. And then on the way down, as she hits the ground, you save the G&T, don't spill a drop, but then your boss is mad about the whole wife thing, and then you lose your job. Am I pretty much hitting that on the head?
You're fired. Get out.
That's such a oddly specific example. Let me try this another way. The Federal Reserve is trying to tweak interest rates in the hopes that it'll cool things down just a bit. They're hoping to ease inflation and avoid the recession altogether. If they pull it off, that's a soft landing. A hard landing is when the worst case scenario, they raise rates too fast or too high, or some event happens the Fed can't control, and the economy just crashes. Businesses are going to close, people lose their jobs, it gets hard to run the economy just in general. Jerome Powell is the guy running the Fed. He's in the pilot seat. He's trying to steer us toward that soft landing, but it's tricky. Some folks think that he will slam on the brakes too hard, and that could lead to an even harder landing.
So it's like if Powell and the Fed don't play it just right and smooth this in with all the interest rates and the mumbo jumbo, we nosedive and bust our face muscle.
Actually, pretty close. It all depends on things like the jobs report, inflation numbers, and how people are spending. It's a balancing act.
Let's hope this Powell guy's got steady hands. Last thing I need is another crisis cramping my style, you know what I mean?
Your lifestyle is a crisis.
You're watching the Big Biz Show.
Was that a t-shirt that said, I'm a slut for deviled eggs? Thank you, Devin. Devin and Howie, once again. Are you guys going to I think it's time to have him go on the plane with you back to Wall Street. That's one of the greatest episodes ever of Howie and Devin go to Wall Street.
Take him to the office. Take him into the office.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And get thrown out.
He won't let in.
Okay, listen. So we're talking about the outcomes after presidential elections of the stock market. James just pointed out, because he found out from a friend, that you can bet now on the presidential election.
Yeah, James, there's a helpline, by the way.
Hey, you know, I know a guy
for a couple weeks.
Can you really? Is it like DraftKings does it?
Yeah. Well,
James, where does it happen exactly? Do you know? Yeah, sure you don't. Sure.
Yeah, right. Who, me? I don't know.
1-800.
Okay, so just to if you're just joining us here, just to review here, if the incumbent party stays after the election, we could see double-digit stock gains after 1 year. This is data going back to 1964. And if the new party in power comes into play, stocks are down slightly a year after. Now, I gotta say, I would have a hard time believing that the pro-business Donald Trump, the new party coming in, would have an adverse effect on the stock market based upon his historical record going back. Do you agree or disagree?
I think that's fairly reasonable, and I think that the historical data is a little bit different than the current situation. One, we have incumbent president running who's not currently in office, and two, the incumbent party nominee is different than the current president.
So what you're basically telling me, Howie, is all this is crap and none of that matters. Yeah. Can I give you more bad news?
I don't know if it applies, I think is the better
Let me give the Republicans more bad news.
Okay.
You're not going to really, this will be a surprise for most of you. I've said this on the air before.
They're running out.
Under a Republican administration, the economy does better, but the stock market does worse. Under a Democratic administration, economies do worse and stock markets do better, believe it or not. And that goes back to 1964 as well. So I think this year's a crapshoot for a number of reasons, because I think we are officially post-COVID. The economy that was shut off like a light switch has come back like a sunrise, and the sun is up, finally. I think that we have some fatigue, some price fatigue, but the problem is that we're used to it. And now we have wage inflation in the right direction, finally, after the last couple of reports. So I think here's the good news, is that inflation's being staved off. People are going to make more money, which is basically when you have gas prices up that you're used to, instead of like cutting off the top of the blanket, sewing on the bottom of the blanket, it's a net zero. But I think you have to understand at the very end that the economy is not the stock market, because only as of this week, 47% of us participate in the stock market. How many of us participate in the economy? Well, it's like the mortality rate. 100%. There is a 100% mortality rate on the earth. All right?
Right now, so at jameseast.edu, the odds are President Trump minus 140, Harris is plus 120.
Is that not?
Is that about
will you
even?
explain
What is
the-
that? Is that?
No, listen. Will you explain the betting line to us, because you're a sports.
Well, you got it. You have to bet 140 to win 100, whereas if you bet 120, if you bet 100, you'll win 120 if you bet, and Harris wins. So minus is always. That's the that's the leader in the clubhouse.
I'm completely more confused than I was.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Say that again.
Right. 220, 221,
Slow it
whatever it
down.
takes.
It's
Go in the
Mr.
back.
Mom.
Yeah.
No, it's a lot closer than
Well, wait. So it started it again. So Donald Trump is minus.
minus 140. So to win $100, you got to bet 140.
That means he's a favorite.
He's the favorite.
They're given points.
Given points. That's right. Trump is giving points.
Okay.
Whereas if you bet on Harris, she's the underdog. She's plus 120.
Let me just make one point, because people, this is new.
Here's his point. Don't gamble.
Right.
Yeah, don't be James East.
Yeah. Talk about the latte
How
fund.
did you throw it in here?
I know.
I love you, James.
The betting lines are new, so I don't want people to be reading them incorrectly. You read them differently than polls. A poll will do a sampling and say 49-51, candidate XY. The betting lines are going to bet, if there's a 10% difference in the polls, that candidate with the 60-40s or 55-45 is definitely going to win. So the betting lines are going to be at like 90% the candidate's going to win. So they're going to be outsized towards who they prefer. The betting lines.
And with the polls, they always say within the margin.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always that little plus or minus 3 or 4.
So you're always going to see bigger differences in the betting lines, and so people should watch out for that and not think it's as sure as if the same numbers were polled.
As far as economies and stock markets go, in your opinion, I mean, we've had such fatigue because the biotech sector has been a dog on the Nasdaq. They used to call it dogs of the Dow. There's been a dog in the Nasdaq. But then you see other companies like the AI companies coming out here, and you see these self-driving cars and the EVs that are going the right direction. So market sector indicators say that it's going to be a pretty good year in 2025. I don't think a presidential election is going to get in the way of the next AI company that comes out and can write the next presidential acceptance speech, so to speak. No pun intended.
In the long term, it's all priced in, and this is all bumps in the road.
Yeah.
I mean, whether one stimulus bill gets passed or doesn't, we spend a little bit extra money. No, that's not going to affect the overall business performance.
Are you still concerned about Japan and China? Because again, if you don't believe in a global economy, look no further than our biggest. We're the biggest customer of. Our biggest customer is Japan, and we're the biggest customer of China. Are you still concerned, like you were a month ago, about what's going on with those?
Deeply.
In terms of inflation.
In terms of inflation, I'm concerned about China, because they, to get their own house in order, will be inflationary. They can afford
so they will manipulate their currency, which is, by the way, why the yuan will never be the global currency like they say it will be, and the U.S. is currently the global currency. What that means, if we're the global currency, is everything in this world is priced in U.S. dollars. Mm-hmm. Okay, so everybody in every country, we're the industry standard. And of course, the ruble will never be there for obvious reasons, because Russia's basically a third world country at this point. But China has always been, vying for, we want to be the global currency, but there's so much manipulation going on because of import-export that the Chinese yuan will never be that. But
no, and they try to do it by basically paying people. They pay Argentina, they pay Pakistan.
So are you basically saying they're going to manipulate their currency to raise and raise prices to try to keep it? It's going to keep inflationary pressure on us.
I'm saying they're doing that. Yeah.
So just as we're on the off ramp of inflation.
Yeah.
And and obviously, if the wholesalers are paying more.
Yeah, and the Europeans lowered rates again today, so that'll flow over to us a little more slowly than the Chinese, because we export.
You know how we get 90% of our pharmaceuticals from China?
No, it's 90% of our antibiotics.
Antibiotics, excuse me. Is the reason we're going to China is because regulation here would just kill that industry, and that would make it too expensive.
Cheaper there.
Just cheaper there, and that's why we do it.
That's becoming less and less true, though. As China grows, we're moving to Southeast Asia and other countries to go where.
Okay. And to Howie's point, it's not going to be cheaper there.
Yeah. At some point, it won't.
By the way, Mike, that means that not the Funyuns that you eat so often are going to cost more, and that Slim Jim.
Those are made in Mexico.
It's the containers that the plastic it contains your Funyuns, and the ink that the Funyuns are in are going to cost more too.
And my Ozempic is going to cost. Lose, lose, lose. Son of a gun.
I think around the clock here. Do you think next year is going to be better or worse than this year in terms of the economy and the stock market?
I think the stock market is going to take a little dip, but I think the economy is going to, because we're going to drill, baby, drill.
Ooh. I think if we can avoid a geopolitical event, I think the economy is going to be up. I think we're going to continue to grow.
I think it's looking good.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't know.
Are you full of crap? Yeah. Howie, you got the last word.
I think the panel's really smart. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, boy.
I'm just thinking
Freaking
positive.
Switzerland over here.
It's going to be
Boy,
great.
he's good.
Yeah.
Harry, it's going to be great.
Chocolate and gold.
Well, I think it's going to be great too, Harry. So, you know what?
Who wants a little gin fizz?
See you guys in 2025.
All right, much more with the Big Biz Show after this. Keep it here. Wow, he made that cocktail. We didn't even see it.
Yeah.
Kaboom!
That was fun.
Oh. Big Biz Show rolls on from the Loft 100 studios.
Hey, Mike. Hey,
Yes,
Mike.
sir. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Oh.
Sound effects.
Oh, and there was Mike earlier today.
This portion of the Big Biz Show is brought to you by Partake Brewing. Crafted for confidence. Find one. Find out how you can get one simply at drinkpartake.com.
I'm on some now.
That's right.
How about that?
Revolutionizing.
I'm excited
Is this what I'm
about
seeing here? Let me see. I got Oh, it's nice and cold. Non-alcoholic brew.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about this.
This is called Peach Goes.
I want this one. Can I open it?
Can I bust it open?
I'm going in.
This one's called non-alcoholic IPA.
Yep. You know what?
Look, I got
this,
a tap.
this is a non-alcoholic Pilsner. This reminds me of? Remember cream soda?
Yes.
Remember the cream soda can?
Of course.
Was always this color.
know what?
Non-alcoholic blonde. Boy.
Whoa.
Speaking of non-alcoholic blondes.
I'm a recovering alcoholic.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, you somehow have finagled this person to give us his free time.
I did.
To come on this ridiculous program. By the way, we are in 125 million TV homes every single night on BizTV and American Life Network. Let's not forget American Forces Network in 175 countries and all the ships at sea. Of course, Bloomberg El Financiero in Mexico, as well as moving into Bloomberg EU. And I'm pretty sure that we are being pirated because I keep on hearing about, hey, I saw you on the internet. I'm going,
We're not on here.
hey, I listened to you on KLNP Las Vegas. We're not on it. So I'm pretty sure somebody's sneaking the signal. I just want my little something on
Exactly.
that. But you got Ted Fleming. He's the founder of Partake Brewing, and we're so important that we get the guy behind the guy.
That's right.
It's like saying I'm Wisconsin. We're the state next to the state.
We are. Well, the Costa household is going through Sober October.
Are you really?
So, truth be told,
How's
we
it
have a
going for
little
ya?
Partake in our
Is
refrigerator.
that followed by hard liquor and handgun night November?
Well, November's going to be ugly, but right now it's Sober October, and joining us is the founder of Partake Brewing, Mr. Ted Fleming. Ted, it is so great to see you. It's so great to finally catch up with you. I know how busy you have been, and it's been a little hard getting our schedules aligned, but welcome to
That was passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for not coming on earlier, pal.
Well, it's great to be here, guys. It's better late than never, right?
Exactly. It's great to have you. Before we talk about the product, and the product is outstanding, maybe go back and tell us how you got around to bringing Partake to the masses.
Sure. So, story for me goes way back to 2005. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease that year, and that sort of turned my world upside down. Didn't know what it meant, but a few years later, fast forward to 2010, really had to give up alcohol as part of a larger shift towards health and wellness. I became a father that same year, and really motivated to make some positive changes in my life. Giving up alcohol was one of them. And as I went down that path, I was going out to bars and restaurants with my friends, trying to keep that social connection that we all love, and you guys obviously have at the studio there. I was trying to keep that part of my life intact, and I'd go out and say, hey, what do you have in the way of non-alcoholic products? And I'd often get looked at with a strange look, or I'd be offered water, soda, juice. It wasn't a very inclusive or welcoming experience for people who couldn't drink. So the answer for me is I love craft beer. Most of my friends were drinking craft beer at the time. I really wanted to be part of that experience, and so I set off to create a craft non-alcoholic beer that I could enjoy. And as it turns out, hundreds of thousands of other people have been able to enjoy as well.
I can't drink either, so I just have tequila.
Yep.
That's like my big fat Greek wedding. She doesn't eat meat. We'll give her lamb.
Exactly.
Ted, talk about market share here, because on a business front, if you look at the non-alcoholic space, when you got folks like Heineken going in, and you got other companies going in, this is fertile ground for you. And there needs to be somebody disruptive, just like near beer was disruptive back in the early 70s. I don't think that people are going to hang their hats on their regular Heineken beer or Michelob Ultra when they can see that there's a category that you have filled up specifically for that, a product that you filled up specifically for that category. Talk about that for a minute, because that had to be part of the decision.
Yeah, it's been a really dynamic market for the last couple of years. You've seen, as you say, Heineken, Michelob Ultra, I think, is launching a non-alc beer. So I think there's those big brands that are coming into the non-alc space. When I started in this industry, I was talking to a lot of them about, hey, could you make me a non-alc beer or work with me? And they didn't really believe in the category 10 years ago, but about 5 years ago, that started to shift, and you saw these new products from big brands coming into the non-alc space. In many ways, it's been good for the category because it just brings a huge amount of brand awareness and credibility to the category. Heineken obviously has a massive global marketing budget sponsoring F1. So, we're a beneficiary of some of that spend into the category, and they've led the way in some markets, making it just way more socially acceptable for people to pick a non-alc beer. And then, we're bringing a lot to the table. We've got a variety of products. So as you went through, we've got product from IPA, hazy IPA, peach goza, blonde, pilsner. So we've got products that suit almost any beer drinker in the styles that they like. And we do that actually differently than some of the big beer companies. Most of those beers are, call them 60 to 80 calories per can. Our beers are as low as 10 calories a can. So a lot of our consumers really think that's a huge value add.
This is really you're on trend, I would say. So this one is like the peach flavor, but it's still got a beery flavor. Do you move into the next phase of alcoholic drinks or wines or those kinds of things?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, our peach goza is a little bit different from the traditional beers. It's a slightly sour beer, and for people that come to us and say, hey, I'd love to give it a try, but I'm not a beer drinker, peach goza is the one we give them because it drinks in many ways like a seltzer. So, there's something for everyone in our portfolio of products. The question is, do we go into wines or into non-alc cocktails? You're seeing a resurgence in those as well. So, time will tell whether we go into those, but I think we've got a lot of work to do still on the beer front, and we're focused on that. And I think we've got a lot of innovation that we bring out through, not necessarily through retail all the time, but through our website, where people can get new variants of products, new styles, and we seem to be doing well with that. So we'll stick to Oktoberfest, as you've got up there, as well as another popular limited time offer that we do. So we're doing well with what we're doing, and I think we'll stick to that lane until we have a good reason to change. And there's I got to say, there's lots of other companies entering the space that are tackling non-alc wine and non-alc mocktails as well. So it's a great community to be a part of today as well.
Where can we get this?
So as mentioned, drinkpartake.com, you can get all of our products there. From a retail perspective, Total Wine and Whole Foods are some of our bigger retailers nationally. We're also in select Targets and Walmarts across the U.S. as well. In Canada, we're in Walmart, we're in Loblaws. If you have any Canadian viewers, we obviously are a Canadian company, first of all, but making some great strides in the U.S. as well, being available in most states.
Ted Fleming, the founder of Partake Brewing, the website to find out where you can get your hands on some. You got to do it. This stuff's phenomenal. Drink Partake.
How is that? You're drinking that, correct?
I've got that. Well, and truth be told, I've had this in our house for.
I want to get pulled over. I want to get pulled over with like these things just cracked on my head in the driver's seat. Yep. In the driver's seat.
No, it's
and just open the window and go, yes, officer.
Right.
And then say, ha!
When you taste what's out there and then you taste this, no competition.
Hey, Ted, will you come back on with us, man? This is really good stuff. I want to get into the granular on how it's brewed and everything else. We'd love to have you back, pal.
Thanks for doing this, Ted.
Yeah, of course. Love to.
Ted Fleming, founder of Partake Brewing, drinkpartake.com. Coming up next, more of this.
I ice cold and ready to go.
That guy's got great forearms in that picture right there. I'll tell you, that's a good ad. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. Look who's in studio. Dan Negroni finds his way in, of course, speaker, CEO, coach, consultant, chief launch officer. And you got a really big stack of paper there. And I'm not talking about this stack. His book, of course, Chasing Relevance.
What's heavier?
Which should, but I'm reading upside down. It says Unlocking Gen Z at Work. Boy, that's right in your, did you write that?
I worked with a company,
okay,
Marley, that actually has data for 23 years on an assessment about the different generations and did 400,000 people survey. So, yeah, globally.
What is, so we're talking about generational differences.
Yes.
Right? And which you've been an expert in terms of behavior and work-based behavior for as long as I've known you.
Yeah.
And so to cut to the chase, what are the real takeaways here for you? When you see something like this, of course it's exciting and you're part of how the sausage is made, but what are the real takeaways?
So, I mean, if I'm being honest, when we wrote that book, we were kind of making it up as we went along.
Well, but you were the first one to start talking about it.
We got it right, and we started really training the generations on how to get along, and we were really looking at kind of what were the behaviors and attitudes. And then comes along, which has kind of reinvigorated me and gotten me excited again about it, is this study over 23 years about how the different generations behave and their attitudes
so
to
much
work.
has changed over the last 23 years. So 23 years ago it was one way, but now all the technology and, communicating through texting, it's all so different now.
Yeah,
right?
So the big things.
Yeah.
They're really, really big things, which you see, like I see when I'm being Professor Dan in the classroom.
Professor Dan.
I see in the classroom, and it validates really the study, which is there is a 53% decrease in trusting your strategic decisions.
Really?
53%, which is huge between the generations, so a boomer and a Gen Z. So 53% less likely to be strategic in their decision because, if you look at the study, they know how to go really deep, but they don't have any breadth. And so
is this a lack of execution experience?
I think it's a lack of teaching them how to think experience. Strategic thinking, which means you figure it out by yourself.
So does this go back to how they were raised in that generation, and were they coddled?
I was going to say mollycoddled.
I mean, is that the
those damn participation trophies strike?
Totally. Do they strike again?
I think the answer is we've protected them or wanted to protect the road for their journey instead of teaching them how to protect themselves for the road, and it's been a real challenge. And then bring in the screen. And so the screen has taken them away from thinking. They can figure out everything out immediately. They don't have to think. And so there's a 47% increase in wanting to depend on text. Like they don't want to even hear or see. They just want to read it, which I see in the classroom. Give me a guide. Tell me what to do.
Is that a comment? Two things. First of all, we consume media much differently than we have even a year ago.
Sure.
That's a moving target. But is that a comment, and the first data point here in terms of decrease in big picture strategic thinking, is that a comment on gut instincts? Is that a comment on...
Interesting. Second statistic is 60% increase in not trusting your gut or decrease in trusting your gut. 60%. Because they haven't been go figure it out. And they don't have to figure it out. They're waiting for someone to tell them what to do.
Well, let me say so. Okay, and I believe.
Well, and
you got 23 years today because I thought I have great instincts, but I don't know if I recognized my great instincts until I was probably in my 40s. I think it was the time on the crust of the earth, maybe part of it.
One difference: you were willing to try.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
right? Because I know you well enough that you didn't sit back and say, "Okay, I'm not going to try this." You realized as you got smarter and older that maybe you weren't so bright when you were doing it, but you were still trying. And so they don't really initiate tasks. They like to do things kinesthetically, but they're so focused on external forces. So, right, the phone, and what everyone else thinks about them, that they don't trust their gut, and they haven't felt kind of strong enough internally, self-aware to just get out there. Now there are exceptions, don't get me wrong, but as a generation, it's a problem.
You brought up text-based communication. They just want to read it. Does that mean they don't want to go face-to-face? They prefer not to talk on the phone? Go ahead.
I just had this example happen to me a couple days ago with my daughter who's applying to colleges, and she had a question, and I said, just call the admissions office. All the things that are telling us, all the webinars we're on to say, talk to your admissions person. She literally just froze over when I suggested to call. She was like, I don't know how to do that. I mean, they don't know how to articulate on the phone. Everything is just pushing the button.
47% increase in wanting to see it and read it, and 23% decrease in wanting to talk about it. Or to hear it. Yeah. Because they don't even do this, right? Yeah. If they had a show, there'd probably be one of them or two. Right?
They don't
they're called podcasts, and they're
Snapchatting each other.
But you know what's interesting is this is a pet peeve of mine. I tell my team, I tell everyone I know, stop countering their objections before they object. And what I mean by that is, well, I don't want to call them. They're probably busy. Yeah. Well, then they're going to tell you they're busy. They're not going to pick up the phone. Okay. Or it's almost like I'm not going to take that chance for fear of putting them out somehow. Yep. Well, wait a second. We're going to protect ourselves. Yeah. And if they can't answer, they won't answer. That's an answer in and of itself.
I tell that to all my clients. You know, we do this on-demand coaching, which is really where the rubber meets the road. They call, we get a reframe, we have it in action. And so many of them, like probably 80% of them, don't call because they think they're going to bother you. I'm like, I won't pick up my phone if you're bothering me. Yeah. Right? Like,
we have it on silent.
Do you find your kids, and yours are young enough, but maybe so, to be perfectionists? Like they overanalyze, maybe paralysis by analysis?
I mean, your experience is, it goes by the study all the time, is they want to go deep. They want to really error correct everything. They want to make sure it's all following the rules. And, they want a guide, and they don't want to figure it out. And it's a challenge. All this research on it, Coddling of the American Mind, The Anxious Generation, 2 books by Jonathan Haidt. It shows us what's happened when the screen came out in 2010.
Mm-hmm. What was your biggest surprise by being a part of this and reading the end?
Well, my biggest delight, and I guess it was a surprise, was we can fix it. Like, we can help it. If we know what the challenges are, we can double down on the way we coach them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And so, I mean,
because the 800-pound gorilla in the room is, how do you build a high-performance team?
It's like in class every time when I'm saying, what am I going to tell you to do? And they say, you're going to tell us to figure it out. I'm like, no. What's the tool that you use? And they're so accustomed just being told, figure it out, or you're wrong or you're right, instead of saying, what's the tool I'm going to use? Oh, they'll, like 5 people later, oh, we're going to ask questions. Mm-hmm. Oh, we're going to do our research. We're going to do our homework. We're going to actually lean in and listen and connect. Yeah, those are the things that we need to teach them how to do.
Professor Dan, you and I used to call them role models. Now they're called influencers. But are influencers really role models?
I just got this disgusting look on my face.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Right.
I guess it depends on who the influencer is, right?
Influencers, they're self-proclaimed.
Well, but the influencer also has to do with a number. This is an influencer because they got this many followers, this many whatever. Mm-hmm. Role models were people that I wanted to assimilate their beliefs, morals. I wanted to be like them. Is there a disconnect there, or do they even exist?
Here's what I would say about both those things. Role models and influencers, they're just part of the input. Mm-hmm. What you really need to find is someone who cares enough about you to coach you or mentor you, and you have to find enough kind of self-will to want to coach yourself. And like you said, you got to pick up the phone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You got to make the call.
Yeah. What I have a fear of is all of the people in sales. Greg, Greg and I met when I was in the radio business. Greg was in the radio business. You were frontline sales in advertising, and your phone was your tool. Could you imagine just texting and being able to being as successful as you are now? No. Would that even work? What it makes?
Well, so I think that's an interesting thing. I saw Scott Galloway. For anyone who doesn't know him, he's a professor at NYU, and he's a really big thought leader. And he talks about this, and he was saying this morning, if you are a salesperson, like you grew up as a cold caller, it's the number one skill you can learn, because all you're doing is trying to connect with people, and it is hardcore. Yeah. Right? Like, still, both my boys are sales guys. They have to make 100 calls a day.
Well, I remember
30 emails a day.
I remember when I was selling, and they put a box of paper clips here. So if you got to empty this box of paper clips. Every call you put a box to take a paper clip out. You got to empty that box today. And it was you were forced to have that personal interaction. So Dan, turning the page here, how can people get a hold of you and find you?
Yeah, I think
where are you speaking?
Hopefully, we're speaking now all over about this. We've just been getting booked like crazy on the particular study because what we're trying to do is figure out how to teach people to deal with the challenge. And there's science behind this, and there's actually an AI-based coaching system where you can put in, how would I approach Sully? Mm-hmm. How would Sully and I deal with conflict? Not that we would ever have conflict. I
don't think we ever have.
How would I ask? No. How would I ask Sully for a raise? Right?
Don't.
Don't. Right? Don't. But
let him come to you.
Let him come to you.
Dan Negroni is his name, of course. Go to dannegroni.com. Pick up a copy of this book, Chasing Relevance, if you can hold it. It's literally, feel this book.
It's a great book. Holy
the heaviest. I don't know what you did.
Did you make this out of lead? What is this?
We got a very thick page.
When's number 2 coming?
Yeah.
Dan,
it's coming.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
We got up.
Yeah, that is book number 2.
Yeah, right?
There's book number 2 right there. What's more to come? Stand by. Big Biz Show's on the air. Loft 100 Studios, The Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at sullygroup.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
Hey, is that a rescue plane?
Big Biz Show continues. We are in the Loft 100 Studios here in sunny Southern California. Hope everyone's having a great day.
Yes, indeed.
Mary Burton Godwin, Greg Todorov, our executive producer, and Sully.
Hey.
Is that a Pendleton?
No. It's a made in a hurry.
Gotcha.
I don't know what this is.
Okay.
But it's
You're not a brand name kind of guy, are you?
I don't know. I don't wear logos. I hate competing logos. You got a Nike swoosh on, and you got a freaking,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I don't like
That's
that.
Big faux pas.
Yeah.
Neither.
Me and Greg are.
Unless I'm getting paid for it.
Unless they're paying me and Greg.
Unless I'm getting paid
Come
for
on
it,
now.
I'm not going to wear your
Come
logo.
First of all, a couple of things. If I were to tell you that every stock, whether it be a small cap stock or a big board stock, has what's called research and analysts, would you know what I was talking about? Mary?
No, definitely not. You saw my face glaze over, right?
There was one?
I want to be the analyst for the booze stocks.
There we go.
Right?
All right.
No, but seriously, there is a really well-known research group called Zacks. And our next guest is a senior life sciences analyst for Zacks Small Cap Research, but he also hosts a program on YouTube called Unboxing Biotech. And he reached out to us, or one of his people reached out to us, to talk about, hey, listen, I'm watching you guys, and I'd like to see see if you guys would be interested in hearing what an analyst does. I thought we've never had that.
Love it.
In the 35 years we've been on radio and the 20 years or so we've been on TV, we've never had that. So I give you John Vandermosten, Senior Life Sciences Analyst for Zacks Small Cap Research and, of course, Unboxing Research. He's the host. What's up, buddy? Good to talk to you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm wearing the Nike swoosh you were talking about.
He must be getting paid for it.
But you're not wearing a competing Quicksilver hat.
Right.
And by the way, he can't go to church, unfortunately. Do you know why? Because they don't allow guns in church.
Oh, yeah. He must work out.
Hey, can you? You're a certified financial analyst, but can you tell? Because we've got the highest technical traders that watch this program, and we have the folks that don't understand when we say the Dow Jones goes up 10 points. What does an analyst do, and why is that important for investors?
Yeah, so I can kind of differentiate what I do versus an analyst, maybe for a big fund or something like that. Analysts have to specialize to some degree, and I used to be on the buy side, and I covered a large fund and had to cover a lot of different things. I covered retail, I covered energy, I covered healthcare. But when you're covering that many areas, you just can't be a specialist. So you need to have others you can rely on to help you understand a little bit better what's going on. So individuals like me in the role of life sciences analyst, we focus a little bit more on certain areas. So I'm the life sciences, small cap life sciences analyst at Zacks, and I cover about 18 different stocks, and I know each of them very well. Now, if you compare that to somebody who's running a big fund with 100 different names in it, they have to spread themselves a little more thinly. So what I do is I'm a little bit more focused. I know things a little bit better about them. I read into their materials a little bit more. I do extra research on it. So that's kind of one of the differentiators between what I do and kind of what a normal equity analyst would do.
John, are you getting into the weeds, though, on every single stock every single day? The ones that you're following, the 18 or 20 you mentioned?
Yeah. So I exactly. So I'll read all the materials that they put out. I'll watch all of their interviews. I'll look at all their conference presentations, and I'll try to pick out things that they say that maybe are indicating how the stock is doing. And I also have calls with them on a regular basis. Every time they have an earnings call, I usually follow up with them on a few items. So what I try to do is go a little bit deeper, and then we put out a report after our conversations and after reviewing the materials for people who own the stock perhaps or interested in the stock so that they can get the summary of the key information. And I help interpret it for them as well. Not all analysts kind of know the whole framework of maybe where a stock fits. So I'm able to put it in that framework as well.
So I'm sure you've never heard this question before, but what stocks do you recommend there, big fella?
Right. Well, I just initiated yesterday on a very interesting company called Ligand Pharmaceuticals. And one of the reasons I really like this is because I do get that very same question that you've asked me from everybody. John, what should I buy? And when you get the CFA designation, as you mentioned, I have, one thing they teach you about is diversification. And a lot of these small cap biotech names are not diversified, right? You need to hold a portfolio of them. And a lot of people don't want to buy a whole portfolio. They want one. So this company, Ligand Pharmaceuticals, which, by the way, I think is close to where you got, they were originated close to where you guys are in San Diego. They have a portfolio of over 100 different assets in the biotech and pharmaceutical space. So you can get a bunch of diversification with one stock. So the ticker symbol on that is LGND. Really like what they're doing. They seem to have a lot of opportunity. There's a bunch of other companies that are in this similar area as them, but Ligand is unique because they're focused on a narrow area of about investment size of 20 to 40 million.
John,
a lot of the guys are bigger than that.
John, we're short on time today, but I want to have you back on a weekly basis if you're willing to do that. And also, I want to promote your unboxingbiotech.com. You're doing kind of an interview type show on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, where you're interviewing the folks that are in and around biotech. And I encourage people to go take a look at that. Unboxingbiotech.com. His name is John Vandermosten. You just committed to it, pal. On national TV, you're coming back. It's like the mob. Once you're in, you can't get out.
That's right. Yep.
John Vandermosten, Senior Life Science Analyst, Zacks Small Cap Research, and Unboxing Biotech. Go to unboxingbiotech.com. You'll see more of him coming up. That's it for us. Big Biz Show, bigbizshow.com. We'll see you next time.